Mark Vero could talk about that too, 'cause that's kind of cool. We're
Yeah.
almost ready. Let's see. It'll be live on Facebook in about 30. Oh, not even. It is there. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Grandmaster Jerry Fontes here, another episode of Man OGs, all the guys and all the girls, Fontes Views National Tour. Region 11 launch is going to be coming soon to a theater near you. So today, I have a student we call Coach TNT, and this gentleman's been around the martial arts with me since the 1990s, but we also have some incredible stories leading back to visualization, begin with the end in mind. Anyhow, without further ado, we got Coach Tony TNT Torres. How you doing, sir?
Good, sir. How are you, brother?
All right, well, you're supposed to say super good and getting better, or you're going to do some damn push-ups. Now, what's wrong with you?
Super good and getting better, sir.
Okay, so let me just say this, and what was the inspiration, desperation, the motivation to even join the martial arts school? And I know finally when you got a chance to do it, but I'm curious, were you a Bruce Lee fan, Jackie Ham, Bruce Cheese? I don't know. Talk to me.
As cheesy as it sounds, I kind of liked how Van Damme looked flying across the screen and how he would throw his slow motion back leg kick. That sold me. And then I was a bouncer at that point in the circle, and I saw you outside one time. You had beef with somebody, and you had your boots on. I was like, I know he ain't gonna kick this dude with that boot. And if he can do that, I'm sold. That's how I ended up in your school. As weird as that sounds.
It's pretty crazy because so as a kid, did you get a chance to see any of the kung fu theaters or anything like that? I mean, not that everybody did, but that's usually or did you see the TV show Kung Fu, or was that just before you? Or did you see maybe Kato or Bruce Lee?
No, but what I used to see and what I used to watch was on Saturday and on Channel 5.
When Kung
Yep,
Fu Theater.
exactly. Oh my God, the venom of death, the
The
deadly
five
venoms.
the five deadly venoms.
Oh my God. I was every Saturday. I was in front of the TV like forget about it. I can't.
During that time in the summer, all the kids would disappear from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock to go see Kung Fu Theater.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I remember it was
and
the
they did.
art theater.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well. Okay. So, where were you born and raised?
Born in the Bronx, New York, over there on Brook Avenue, where we call the slums. It was a rough name. You had if you didn't fight or learn how to fight, you get beat up. And it was one of those things where you either, eat or be eaten. So I had to learn
What hospital were you born in?
Lincoln, the old Lincoln.
Whoa, that the old Lincoln. That's when the young lords actually took over that Lincoln.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was where the Godfather, where they held Mr. Corleone, he was there.
Oh my God. So we're talking about when you say Brook Avenue, guys, you might as well call that the North Spanish Harlem because you're literally like right there. It's like right over the other side of the bridge. And it was out of the frying pan, and that was the fire.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Do you remember any gangs during that neighborhood during that time?
You know what? If I did, I was always, not wanting to cross their path just because I didn't want anybody to say nothing. But what I do vividly remember is going outside and seeing cars on bricks.
Oh,
And
and a
that,
half a heartbeat. You make the wrong turn and you park in the wrong spot, and they're
exactly.
gonna rob you everything. If he had nice rims, oh,
It was a
he took
wrap.
the whole tire.
It was a
It,
wrap.
incredible. So now, what school did you go through? And then did you have any of those crazy experiences? Like literally, there's turning points in your life that maybe redirect you.
What martial arts or what high school?
Well, either one. It could be. Well, I'm saying even before you get into high school, as a little kid, your influences. Like for example, I was a crazy karate fever boy. So when I saw the movie Five Fingers of Death, when we started playing tag, they were shoot. I should say not tag, cops and robbers, and they shot at me. I blocked with my iron fist, and people thought I was crazy. So,
Man.
did you have any experiences like that? Like, so who was your favorite superhero besides He-Man when you was a little kid? You know?
Yeah. It was Van Damme and He-Man, man. It was the bodybuilding of He-Man and the skills of Van Damme. So I got into the bodybuilding. I got into the martial arts through you. So I figured, I couldn't lose. I had the best of both worlds. I did go to Catholic school, so fighting was against,
Excuse me. Somebody must have had a job.
yeah. It was Catholic elementary school and Catholic high school and Catholic college.
Oh, wait. See, now you see, you live and you learn. See, we didn't have that. Warfare didn't cover that at all. So your father and your mother were both together. I mean, give me. Let's hear your upbringing story. I know you have at least two sisters, if not.
It was rough. It was rough because my dad was a pimp, right? And a pimp in the sense where he was self-employed, but he owned a number spot.
Oh, hear that, honey?
Yeah, he owned the number spot. So,
Dame
and
un 35 combinado.
although although they were separated, my dad always picked me up in the morning, took me to school, and always picked me up from school and took me home. So
Oh,
whatever happened, dad
maybe
was
that's a tradition. That happens in Miami now, I think.
100%. Whatever kids see, they grow up doing, and I saw it, and it's
It's
fortunate and
embedded.
unfortunate that I end up doing the same thing, right? I pick up my boys every morning, I take them to school every morning, and I drop them off. It's amazing.
And it's not even a task. It's something that you do. For most people, that's like, no. In the meantime, you're like, no, that's what fathers do.
That's it. Dads do that, and if you don't, you're deadbeat. Get out of here, beat it. You know, uh,
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and so, but he was, man, he was a great dad, despite him and my mom falling out. We never went hungry. We always had everything we needed. He paid for our schools. He paid for all my
Wow.
large. He paid for everything. You know what I mean? He just wanted to make sure that even though he didn't do it right by my mom, he did right by us, by being my sisters. And so we had, I can't, like, for me, he was my superhero. So that's important, and that's what I try to be for my kids now. And you've been in my house, you see me interact with my kids, and forget it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, and the same thing here. I think you saw me interact with my son way back when.
100%.
Yeah. So it's like that's one of those things that it doesn't happen in every family, but when you do see it, it's loving. Now, of course, in the Bronx, you're probably known as like I'm known as in Miami. I will be Cuban. In the Bronx, you're Puerto Rican, but it's the other way around, really, right? You have Cuban descent. Is that
Right.
both your mom and your dad?
Correct. My mom, my dad, and but I grew up in the Bronx, Puerto Rican side, and my uncle and my dad from here from Cuba and from Miami. So I ended up going to where my second home was, which is Miami. Thankfully, got out of the Bronx because if you don't get out of there, that shit will bring you down.
Yeah. Well, so for some people, it's getting out of Miami because Dade County, I think, had a nice little body count during the 1980s too. You
And
know,
recently too.
yeah. So, but whatever, you know. But it's interesting to think that the Tainos, really made a big difference. And Arawak to some people, but realistically, that island of Cuba, which is really Kuba initially, is an actual Taino word. And same thing with Jamaica. I didn't know that it's just a Taino name. So,
Right.
um, and I think that is interesting because we end up hovering towards people that have a similar bloodline. Coming from the Bronx, of course, you will be known as Oye Cuba, the same way if you're Spanish neighborhood, you'd be Oye Bori. So it's like Bori and Cuba and Cuba and Bori. So it's even same
Right.
thing. Anyhow, so now you go to Catholic school, you said from grade school. Now, did you get picked on because you went to Catholic school?
I did get picked on because everywhere you go, there's always that guy who thinks he's badass and who always wants to be the bully. And so, I've had those moments, and I had to get down and dirty, just like when I went away, they did the same shit. Everybody's got to test you, and I got into it, but they pulled me into the office. I got in trouble. Either way, I didn't start it,
Was
but
that kindergarten?
no, man, I was in third grade. Yeah,
Isn't
I
that
started
something?
early, man, and I was, I had to defend myself. It wasn't gonna have no one was gonna get over on me, and I had a sister to protect too, and she went to school with me there.
Well, I'm gonna say something only because of what you said, honey. I'm sorry, but in pre-kindergarten, they have these coat closets that you have to go get coat,
Yes.
and they would send a boy and a girl,
Yep.
and they called me kissing the girl. The heck, I'm pre kindergarten, freaking bellaco. It's crazy, man. So these things that we remember, things that we do. That was when I was
Oh
in
yeah.
Spanish. That's when I was in still Spanish Harlem. So you get in trouble age in the third grade, and
Yep.
what happened when you get home? What was the response from your dad?
My dad is simple. He goes, if you didn't hit that guy, I would have hit you. That was it. He says, don't start no trouble, but if somebody comes at you,
You
you
end it.
make sure you protect yourself. Because if you don't and I hear otherwise, I'm gonna hit you.
I
He
think
goes,
it's something like this.
he
Oye,
said,
tú le
let me
partes la cara, tú voy a partir la cara a ti.
that's how I went. Yeah. And he says, I'll deal with the teacher. Don't worry about it.
Yo me convoco yeah. So that
Yeah.
and that's the whole thing where realistically, we grew up in a neighborhood that had quite a few what you would consider Latinos, but you also had the Morenos in there, and you might have had some Blanquitos. If there was some Blanquitos left over, there was leftovers because they weren't supposed to be there any longer. But when you go to Catholic school, now there you see some other people that had a variety of colors, and the color was called green. So you had some money.
Yeah.
So you make it all the way from there to high school, and then eventually you go to college. How dare you graduate? I got kicked out of Taft High School's GED program. So,
Actually, I graduated high school, but I dropped out of college. I was like, this is for the birds. I gotta go take off my clothes and make money. And so I ended
oh,
up
hold on a second. Hold on. This is a family show. This is not a. He's trying to promote his hun. He's trying to promote his. What's that thing they call it that he always does? What do you call that thing? That website? Only
the old pants,
OnlyFans, guys. We only kidding, but it would have been cool way back then. He would have had two of them.
if it existed, right? Hell yeah. No, yeah,
So
yeah.
so you end up as a college dropout
Right.
because you had aspirations or inspirations. But at the time, what you would have considered what you would prefer to do?
Well, I had aspirations to be an actor, but actors are broke and they need to make money. So the way I went to make money while I was doing acting and auditioning and
That's
all
young.
was taking off my clothes for women and I was stripping.
Yeah. So I'm not near TNT, but there was a bunch. Listen, the list of strippers is pretty extensive today. Some of them are priests. Some of them are doctors and lawyers. It's not just females, but males, especially in the Bronx. And out of a gym called Elmo's Gym, trust me, there's a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah,
And
sure.
infamous, rest in peace to Elmo, but he was the guy that, yeah, exactly, Elmo. La 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 la, no, not Elmo, but So I remember that literally you also this guy was a hustler. And what I mean by that is Halloween was money time for him. They would have a
Oh yeah.
Halloween costume. What was the deal with that?
I was, I love the movies. I love Fantasyland, and every time Halloween came, I found it as the only day that I can be who I wanted to be from the movies and be authentic. So I would invest money in the best costume that was hot at the time, and I would go to the Halloween costume parties and join the contest and end up winning because of how authentic the costume was.
We're at Fontaines Karate. I'm gonna fast forward for a second, and you're already a student, and you come in that day not with one, two costumes, and the second one was a legitimate, authentic, freaking fireman.
Yeah, that
You used to
was
go to clubs too, right? Go to clubs
yeah,
and
I
go to
did
those
that in the
kind of things.
clubs. Yeah. That was I bought that from a retired firefighter who owned the club that he wanted me to strip in and he wanted me to come out as a firefighter. So I said, instead of you paying me, I want you to gift me a fire jacket and a fire outfit so that I can keep. And that's what he did. That's the that's the thing we did.
Negotiated.
Exactly. We worked out.
Now, did you learn those negotiation skills from your dad, or was it from your mom, or maybe
It was
who
both.
do you think?
My dad was a gangster negotiator, and my mom still negotiates. She makes pasteles. She sells pasteles on Christmas and New Year's, and she makes coquitos and sells them. She's a gangster.
You also told me that when she goes to visit you, she goes shopping at Dollar Tree and racks up a whole bunch.
She brings all that shit back home, though. She takes it to New York. And she sells it to the people in the projects.
and, and that's those are the women, sometimes men in your case, that had to survive in a whole new world where it wasn't what you would consider formal education, but there was opportunities to earn some income, and it depends on the season.
Yep. Yeah. And
You
I was
know,
just there. I was in your house the other day. I was at home and it was me and her because my stepdad went to Puerto Rico and she goes, if you need money, I have money. And I was like, Mom, I'm good. I don't need money. And she goes, well, anyway, help me. Look, I have money here and money here and envelopes. Like she goes, let me go to my closet. She went into one jacket. She took out an envelope. And I was like, Mom, let me just put this together and count this and we'll put it away. $19,800
oh,
in envelopes. Some of the envelopes were dated 2000, 2010. She put shit away and forget that she put it away. Now she
and
got
she
20 keys in the drawer.
back then, if she would have bought some Bitcoin, oh my God.
Holy cow. I was shocked. I was like, Mom, I was like, you got 20. And most of these are 20s. I said, I'll be back. I went to Third Avenue. I went to the bank to Chase, and I got all hundreds because she had a stack like this. I'm like, you can't do this, man. You got to chill.
That's funny,
And that's all
isn't
from
that?
Pateles and Coquitos for the last few years.
Oh my gosh.
But she's not working. She's home.
Right. So, and that's the point. You know, literally, you speak finances into existence, and you figure out a way to be able to earn it. You know, there's one thing guaranteed about the ghetto: a lot of money is
Oh,
spent,
yeah.
meaning all of it.
There's
And
money
you
in
have
it. You just got to
to,
find it.
right. So you have this martial arts school,
Mhm.
but the instructors are young guys, man. Like, what the hell is that about? And you actually joined this place.
I did. I did. And it was just because for me, through my eyes, it was cool, especially when I was invited one night to a Friday night to see what you guys were doing. And it was almost like a secret society where the gates would close, the music would go up, and it was the old hip hop, like Eric B. and Rakim and stuff. And the way you guys would just go at it and just to the music. And it was like I hear it now and I get into stance and I want to hit somebody. And it just, it was so it's nostalgic now, but back then it was the place to be, and I was enamored with that shit. I was like, I gotta get in here, and that's how I ended up there, man. And
It
you
was
guys
so
like you
crazy.
guys were babies, you guys were young to be able to fly up like freaking. It was awesome. It was awesome, man.
You spent a lot of time with instructor tourists.
Oh, man.
Be gibbity 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 gibbity. That's all, folks.
Tony Vidi, yo, oh my God, he was such a he was such like a treat to be around, man. It was and we would hang out in my car. He'd make fun of my car and then get in. He go, let's go over here, and we would go, and it was just, I miss him. I miss him.
Yeah,
He,
rest in peace to tourists.
he was such a
And,
great individual
and then
and
of course,
orthodox and talented.
oh no, I don't think
Oh, God.
his natural talent was he was so powerful. That guy was so strong, and he hit people and they would drop like. And he was only about 165 pounds.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
hell, but he could drop anybody and
He
can't walk or kick in the head.
Oh man, I miss him so much. I miss him so much.
And then my mom was there, not too much, bigger than Miss Little Bit over here, you know. And of course, we had China Doll. Rest in peace to
Yes.
China Doll.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, I think about those times, and we had some pretty legendary students, go through those doors.
We did.
I mean, considering that the leader was just a few years or a few months older than the average person there,
Yep. Yep.
and but you start becoming. When did you become what I would consider a man? I think I did it when I was 5 years old, when I was doing the drinks and the get-togethers and making some money, the house parties, because it was important, right, to become a young man or
Sure.
un macho.
Yeah.
Don't be a sucker or punk because they, oh my God, please. Will embarrass you, right?
Oh yeah.
If you show some sweetness, oh, you done.
It was a wrap. It was a wrap.
So do you remember a time where you weren't like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm good now in terms of
I do.
confidence
Yeah.
wise.
I was in my home, and my sister, my older sister, lived in the building downstairs, and she came up crying, and I saw like a black mark. And I remember she came up, I was there in my underwear. And I said, what happened? She
Oh, the
said,
He-Man ones for the rooms. I mean, the
yeah,
He-Man.
those, yeah,
Yeah.
those. And she said her husband hit her. And I went and I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and I went to go outside. And as I was going outside, unbeknownst to me, before she came up, she called my dad. And unbeknownst to me, when I was going out into the hallway, my dad was coming up in one of the elevators, and the cops were coming up in the other one. It just so happened that my father got out first, and as he was coming out, he came into the apartment and he said, "No, the cops are coming." And when I went to lift my arm up to go out the door, the cop came and he grabbed my arm, and the knife fell and it went in my foot.
Oh my God.
And then the cop arrested me and took me to jail. I'm like, dude, you got the wrong guy. What the? And I was cursing and I was, bro. And it's funny that my dad got there first because my dad had his pistol and he was gonna handle the dude, but he didn't know that the cops were coming behind me in the other elevator, and that's when he left the pistol in the apartment. But it could have been a lot worse. But once I ended up in jail for that day and I came out that night or whatever, I came out, I was like, I'm a tough guy now. I've been behind bars. Let's go.
Right, that's what I mean. So you had it was a paradigm shifting experience because you were
Yeah.
gonna step up. You didn't run away. You stepped up to it,
Uh,
even though you got a boo boo.
yeah.
That's interesting.
But it's the way shit happens, man. It's a series of events. It's stories to be told now, right?
So you're training in the martial arts school, and there was a day in particular that's pretty, how do I say, memorable. We go do a TV show,
Oof.
and what do you remember?
Oh man, I was proud. I was happy. I was excited that I was chosen by you to go to Cablevision. I think it was Cablevision or BronxNet. It was BronxNet, and film a commercial spot for, I believe it was the martial arts school, right?
Yeah.
And
What it really was, just so I can refresh your memory, it was a show where I had Renali, the staff. So I had the kids and the little girls, but then I had an adult and used the adult. So I figured, well, let me use this guy here as what would have been my partner, but I did the only slip ever.
yeah, let's go into that. You start to explain the shot. Here's what we're gonna do. TNT is gonna be right here. I'm gonna take this cup and I'm gonna put it on TNT's head, and I'm gonna do what I can clearly remember as a jumping spinning hook. Is that right? And I'm gonna kick the cup off of TNT's head without touching him. And I had 1,000% trust in Master Fontaine's ability to even miss the cup, but so fast that the air would knock it off. I'm like, he's going to be very careful, but he's going to go so fast that the air is going to knock it off. Unfortunately for me, I don't know what happened. It was a miscalculation of some sort. And he knocked my head off my shoulders with that kick.
And you know
It,
what's the crazy thing? I never did that before or after that. I couldn't believe that. But I'm looking at you and I see the stars. And
but here's what's worse. I had so much faith in you still that you said, let's do it again. And I did. And this time you
and what
got
yeah, this time we will. And that's crazy when you think about it because realistically, like you can't make that thing up, and it makes for a great story. The reason I did that was because I knew that in 2026 we're going to talk about that after you're in Miami. But that's what it was. I already knew.
wow.
There's a night where I vividly remember you came first, Dave Deodato. Okay,
Oh,
Dave Deodato, way before Grant Cardone, way before Tom Vu, way before Cotton Sheets,
oh
way
yeah.
before anyone with no money down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Dave Deodato, I got these cassettes, I should say VHSs, and I'm sharing them with those people who showed enthusiasm or desires towards becoming better, or my personal power with Tony Robbins. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, man. It was you introduced me, and I firmly believe that I wouldn't be who I am today because you exposed me to the, the best freaking personal development person on the planet today, which is Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. And I remember you said, take this cassette, and you gave me one. The thing had two. You gave me one. Take this, listen to it, and then when you come back tomorrow, give it back, and I'll give you the second one. So it's like a
Like a
library
library.
thing. And and I go and I listen to this thing, and I'm like, oh shit. I finished listening to it, and I couldn't go get the other one because it was nighttime. I live in Brook, and you live in freaking Zariga. I'm like, damn, I couldn't wait till the next day to get the other tape. And it was like every day, and it changed the person who I was becoming by the hour. And I never been the same human being since before listening to those tapes. And I bought
Just to prove that, where are you right now?
Arizona in a mastermind to buy real estate. No money down.
I mean, we can't make this thing up.
Yeah,
Cannot make this
creatively.
up.
Yeah, creatively. And I
It's
and I was
incredible.
I was with Tony Robbins last February 14th in Funnel Hacking Live in Las Vegas.
You know,
Insanity.
if you the next time you're near him, drop my name and let's see what happens. Because they used to have juice. He used to have juice. I'm looking forward to being belly to belly with him, since I used
Yeah.
to staff his seminars way back when. The firewalk and so on and so forth. But it's interesting. So now you come, and I remember you telling me, I'm gonna see if this works. And you took the Dave Del Dowdo tapes and you started listening to them also. And the reason I gave you that one cassette as opposed to what I had done so many times before is that most people just talk, they don't take action. So I would give them the whole series of them and I would never see them again.
Ugh.
And I was like, man, this is getting expensive. Those things back in the days, whoa, a cassette was 30 something
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Forget about it.
So then you come over and you say, I'm gonna see this works. And you started trading cars.
I was trading cars. Exactly. I would buy a car for 2 grand and I would trade it for a car that was more expensive. And I kept trading cars. And at like the seventh trade, I traded up to a Porsche,
Which was your goal.
which was my goal, right? And
Then before that, you had like a Dodge Fiero or something like that.
I had a Pontiac Fiero, and then
Pontiac
I got a
Fiero, right?
limousine. I got a limousine, a white limousine. I got a IROC Z. I got a
And,
Mustang.
and how did you do that? You just
Trading.
roll up to them and say, "Hey, you want to
That's
trade?"
it. I look at them, nice car. And they would say, nice car. I'm like, want to trade? And they were like,
Huh?
over. And we would negotiate on the street. It was the weirdest thing, man. But you like you like the saying, right? If the baby don't get cried, he don't get the fed. He don't get fed, right? So
Yeah, well, that's a
it was
Spanish.
a
It
big,
sounds better in Spanish, but yeah, we got
yeah,
the
it does.
idea.
Que no llora, no mama.
Yeah, in English, it would be the squeaky wheel gets all the attention.
That's
That would be
it.
the equivalent to
Exactly.
that.
So, and that's how I ended up with a Porsche. And funny you should say Porsche. It was one of those things where we get into that visualization that you taught us and that you actually do, and we learn from Robbins and all that stuff. And you had a visualization of what having a school in Manhattan, right?
Yeah, so you roll up, and this time I guess you was excited. You didn't care what time it was. It was after midnight, I think. And of course, I lived right across the street from the school. You honked, and I looked down, and I see, wow, he got the freaking Porsche. It was just a matter of time, but he got it a lot sooner than I anticipated. I knew that visualization already worked. So I said, hey, let's go take a ride, and we got stuck in the middle of Central Park.
Oh
And I
my,
remember looking up and seeing the full moon and saying, "Oh, we're good." And then the car turned on, and we didn't the Bronx. We continued to Central Park
yep.
to 1717 Broadway,
We're
and we
sitting
parked
there.
right there. And we're sitting right there. And what did I say?
He said, look up to the right. You see where it's that right there? That's gonna say Fontaines Karate. And right there at the moment it said Robbins, right? Robbin. And I was like, Fontaines Karate. And we were visualizing in the car, and it was freezing because we had no heat in the car. Oh
Hey,
my.
listen, guys, just so you know, Porsche doesn't have those extra things. There's a freaking metal can that has an engine and a half. Looks good on the outside, but on the inside, that thing is gutted out.
Oh
Still
my.
is. Gosh,
Horrible, horrible.
thrills.
But we look good from the outside. It's all good.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
how long after that did it become a reality?
in less than 6 months, we're already in the location. And then years after, I'm gonna fast forward to years after, because there was a time where, of course, we went our separate ways. The school was closed, and I gave up the operation. Chamada and Mighty Joe took over. Rest in peace of Chamada. And I get a phone call from you. This time you're down in Miami, but before, so you're in Miami, and I remember you
Just,
saying,
just, just for context,
yes.
from that time to this time, over 20 years has passed,
Well, that's significant. 2 decades.
or 2 decades have passed since that
Yeah.
time and this phone call, right?
Right.
So you've become a
So
millionaire and have gotten your mansion and has gotten the rec suits and all that. And I've gone this way and have done all the stuff that I've done. And then, go ahead.
yeah. So now the interesting part is that I didn't know what had happened, and there's a movie in the documentary that even the documentary itself is kind of interesting because usually you have when they reenact, they use other actors, but this
Right.
guy actually explained what happened there in that iron. Come on, talk. Let's talk about that for a second.
It- they usually pick an actor to reenact the story, but because it was my story and I was an actor, I had to relive my own experience about what had happened to me and how I ended up in prison for 5 years.
Which completely destroy your life, and that's the reason why not the opposite, right?
Yep. Yep. And again, in prison, it's tough because you by force have to relinquish all your rights, what you can do. They're controlling you. They tell you when you eat, when you sleep, when you get up. It's everything. Everything's out of your hands. But the mindset that you have to attain in there, and this is where everything came back from that first Tony Robbins tape. Everything came back. If it is up to, gonna be is up to me. The past does not equal the future. All that stuff I kept in here. And every day I would wake up, I would keep those, those things in my head. And it came to the point where when I got out, and the recidivism rate, I think it's like 90+%, where what that means is when you come out of prison, that 97% go back in.
Yeah, but just to be fair, I don't think you should have went to begin with. It was a situation that you
Yeah,
guys got to watch the documentary, but
yeah. To make a long story short, I have a best friend. He commits a crime. As a youngster, my dad always taught me never rat on your friends and never hit women. So cops come looking to my friend, which by the way was my best friend, and he was in my house at the time. So when they came looking for him, I said, I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at. Kill me, take me, do what you want, but I don't know where he's at. He ended up being in my house, and they send an informant to ask me questions about him. And the informant was wired. In other words, he had recording substances on him. And when he asked me, I said, the cops wanted George, and when they wanted him, I had him, and I wasn't gonna give him up. So they can go.
and there's a federal offense if you lie to agents.
You lie to
Hence,
agents, you get 5 years. And so that was the charge they got me with for 5 years.
for being loyal.
Federal agent, yeah, for being loyal. And I I can't, you know what? Things didn't happen to me, they happened for me. I can lay my head on a pillow at night and know that I did nothing wrong and know that I didn't turn anybody in and I kept my word as a man and I came out better than I went in.
The university
Yeah, I mean, look,
got you ready for life. And when you came out,
exactly.
what happened then? The first
Things,
day you come out, when you see sunlight, when you see the grass, when you see things that you haven't seen for the first time in
you
a
know,
long time.
you know what happens? I got scared. I was afraid to cross the street. I'm like, am I gonna get in trouble if I cross the street? It was the weirdest feeling.
Mm.
And I was like, I want to go across the street to that grocery store because when you leave, they give you the money you have in your commissary. So I had like 200 bucks, and I was like, I want to get a soda and like something to eat that I haven't had in 5 years in that store, maybe. But I didn't want to cross the street. I was afraid a guard was gonna take me back in, having just gotten out.
Wow.
It was a real mind.
Institutionalized because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
five
yeah.
years of conditioning.
That's what they call it. And one of the guys that was with me, I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you go first? And then you come back and hold my spot and I'll go. That kind of shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was wild.
How,
And
how long did that last?
that lasted about maybe a week. Once you leave that area, now you come back home and you're like, okay, I know this place, things are familiar. I'm home, my mom is here, and then they stick you in a halfway house where now you're kind of in a looser prison, but you have access to the streets. But it was a pretty trippy, I'll tell you.
Now I would think that you had a plan when you was coming home. How long did it take you before you started implementing some of those things that eventually come into fruition?
Well, here was the plan. The plan was to become a chef. Why? Because while I was in prison, I used to sit in the TV room and watch the Food Network all the time. So I was hooked on how to make beautiful dishes from just ingredients. Like, yo, you get a bunch of raw stuff and you make that thing that tastes amazing. Just so happened that the counselors called me in 6 weeks prior and said, Mr. Torres, we're gonna, because you've been an exemplary prisoner, we're going to give you programming so that you have success outside. We're going to send you to school. What school do you want to go to? I said, I want to go to culinary school. And they paid $40,000 and sent me to culinary school. And I became a culinary graduate, and I opened up a restaurant in Miami.
So rehabilitation actually does work if you implement yourself.
hundred
That
percent.
was a tax. That was the taxpayers um, really doing something good with that money. Wow.
Yep, it does. It does.
So what did you do with that?
I opened up 2 restaurants in Miami. And after 2 years, there was a lot of things that you learn. You could become a chef, you can open up a restaurant, but the fundamentals that they didn't teach you was uh, how to choose a spot.
You mean business? Just because you was an artist, because that's what um, guys realize whether you are a barber or you are a chef, you are an artist and you create stuff. You're being creative.
That's right. That's right. So they didn't show me. They didn't show me what I
The
should look
business,
for.
the business.
Yeah, the plaza. What do you look for? What's the numbers look like? And I picked. I was just excited to be the chef and get the spot that I didn't worry about things like how much was the rent, that kind of stuff. And so although it was great, at the end of the month there was always a lot of bills left and not enough money. And that only lasts but so long before you realize I'm bleeding out.
3 months and then you evicted.
That's
one
it. That's
quarter,
it.
1 quarter.
Yes. And I made a decision. I said, well, every month I have a lot of customers. I'm making $25,000 a month. However, the bills are 26, 27. So I was putting out 200 or 300 every month. And I'm like, it's only a matter of time before I bleed out. Let me hold on to what I have, close this joint, and then live to fight another day. And that's what I did.
You pivoted. You
I did.
learned. You didn't lose. You learned.
Yep.
What was
100%.
the next stage from that?
And so then from there, I went to Whole Foods, and I was doing groceries, and I came out, putting the groceries in the trunk, and I saw this business, and it was the color orange. And I'm like, what the hell is this orange place? And I look inside, and I'm like, let me go inside. I open the door, and there was a girl on the counter, and I said, what is this place? She says, this is Orange Theory. This is a fitness center. She goes, and we're looking for trainers just like you. And I was like, you are? She goes, yeah, let me get the owner. He was there. And when he comes out, he goes, Tony. I was like, Gary. He owned the Massage Envy next to my restaurant. And so he goes, "What are you doing here? You close a restaurant?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm looking for somewhere to work." He goes,
Now,
"Bro,
what was the restaurant? Oh, that's the Muscle Grills. Is
it was
that
the
was it?
Muscle Maker Grill.
Muscle Maker
Uh,
Grill. Yeah.
Muscle Maker Grill, and it started in Brick, New Jersey. I had to buy a franchise, and actually, I was when I came home, I got a job at the Muscle Maker Grill on Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. And there was a yeah, there was a friend of mine who went there to eat, and he said, "Yo, Tone, this is delicious." And right away, I said, me being me, I said, "Dude, write a check for the franchise, and I'll quit right now. We'll go to Miami and open one." And he goes, "You serious?" I was like, "Serious as a heart attack." He wrote the check on the spot, and I quit, and we left. That's how I ended up in Miami,
Wow.
just like that.
So now you're in Orange Theory.
Now
You
I'm in
see your
Orange
friend
Theory,
Gary. Yeah.
right? As a trainer, and you know how we roll. I was a coach, and I said, I got bigger aspirations, and so I see the regional guy come in, and his name is John, really good guy, and he's like, you're pretty good as a coach. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, but I want to do what you do. And he goes, well, you're gonna, it takes time. I'm like, well, tell me what I got to do. He goes, well, first I got to come evaluate you, which I did, and you're good. But we got some work to do. Here's a list of things you should work on. So I said, okay, when can you come back and evaluate me? He goes, well, I mean, I come around like every 3 months. I was like, no, come back next week. And he goes, nah, but he goes, I can't. But if I'm in the neighborhood, I'll come by. He came by the week after, and he goes, wow, you improved. But here, bum, 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 bum. Like he came by about 8 times. And every time he came by, he goes, okay, bum, 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 okay, bum, 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 okay. Bum, bum. And then one time he came by. Now we're 6 months in of him coming to see me. And I'm like, all right, John, give it to me. And he goes, I got nothing, bro. I got nothing. He shook my hand and he goes, I'm gonna go to the office and I'm gonna put in a good word for you. And when they start to hire for a regional, I'll let you know. But I'll let you know when the ad is out and you apply for it because I can't bring you and you have to apply. And when I find it, I'll recommend it. And so I saw he goes, the ad is up, go pull it. And I filled it out. And I said, John, I filled it out. And he goes in, he says, I got it. So they called me for an interview and I got the regional for Southern Florida. So now I was the one doing what John was doing.
And
John went
what was John doing? Yes.
John was the regional director of South Florida, which so what he would do is he would go to all the Orange Theories and he would make sure that all the trainers were doing it via standard because it's a franchise. So in a franchise, every single business has to be done perfectly the same. If not, you're breaking protocol. Now, he's also responsible for every time that there's an Orange Theory that opens, he trains all the trainers on how to do the concept. And he's the one
And
that picked
what
those
was
trainers.
that concept as opposed to Elmo Gym?
That concept was so there is called like hit training and is
High
high
intensity
intensity
interval
training.
training.
Correct. And so you have a set of treadmills, and then to the left, you have a gym floor. And then to the back of that, you have rowers. So there's three groups. There's a group on the treadmill, there's a group on the floor with the weights, and there's a group on the rowers.
So
And
it's a team effort on top of that.
is a team effort, correct? So there's a timer. So as a coach, as a trainer, you have to be trained in working the stopwatch because the treadmill has 3 minutes on the treadmill, the floor has 3 minutes, and the rowers have 3 minutes. And then once the time is up, you have to say switch, and everybody switches.
So
And
you're
they
the orchestra. You they're the orchestra, and you're the band leader.
100%. And so at the 30-minute mark, everybody switches again. So you get the weight training, which is the resistance training. You get the cardio version, and then you get the power version from the rower. So it's kind of like a complete workout. And so I ended up being the regional leader of Southern Florida, and they took John and they put him Northern Florida. So now me and John are like this, right? Now I get a call from corporate. This is about 6 months in, and they said, Tony, we know you're fluent in Spanish, and we're going to be opening up a a club in Mexico and in Puerto Rico and in Spain and in so on. And we need a Spanish speaking regional, and you're the only one in Orange Theory history that speaks Spanish. So
They call that a token. We, let me ask you a quick question. Here we are, 2026. How many other Latinos are right now where you are today?
mm,
Isn't that something? I mean, guys, listen. And again, this is not being anything but factual. In my experience, there's always one or two. If there's two, the other guy doesn't even speak Spanish. So it's always
yep,
what the heck.
yep. And so I said, look, well, what does it pay and what's the structure? And so I ended up getting that job. And now tied to the fact that I was had a fear of flying, deathly. Now I
And
had to fly.
how do you overcome a fear of flying? How did I do it? I jumped out of a plane. How did he do it?
I ended up I ended up becoming a private pilot.
I'm watching the video many years after this, a few months ago, not even a year ago, and I'm like, he's driving. I see his kids in the back, but I'm saying that's a weird car. Like that car is like really. It was a freaking plane. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's a pilot. Tony Robbins now. He's a freaking own pilot. Except it's not a helicopter, but it's still a twin
Yeah.
engine plane.
100%. I woke up one day and I missed seeing the world because on top of all the stuff I did right before I went to prison, I was also a professional salsa dancer. So I used to travel the world to do salsa shows. And I remember clearly I went to Puerto Rico for the first show, and it was the night that Princess Diana died. I remember because after the show, we went to the hotel and it was all over the news. And so I said, holy shit. So we had to run to the airport, get on the plane. That plane almost went down going to New York. And, everybody in the plane was crying and it was a disaster on the fucking plane. But I said, if I land, I will never fly again. God, please get me home safe. And he did. And I didn't fly for about 15, 20. I didn't fly again until the job, until Orange Theory with fear. And then I woke up Thursday about 3 years ago and I said, I never forget, it was a Thursday. I got up from my bed. I woke up from a dead sleep in the morning and I said, I got to get rid of this fear because I miss seeing the world. I miss seeing Japan. I miss seeing London. I miss seeing Europe, all these places because of my fear. And I went to the nearest airport by my house and I said, how much to take me up in that thing? And he goes, the Cessna? I was like, yeah. He goes, $150. I was like, let's go before I change my mind. And I went up and I was shitting in my pants. And he did one of those things where he jerked the thing and the plane went down. I was like, oh, don't do that shit again, man. Don't do that. I was really mad. And he goes, no, calm down, man. Just grab the controls. So he made me grab the controls and he said, pull.
Whoa.
And I pulled up and I felt the plane go up. And he goes, pull down slowly. And I pushed it down. The plane went down a little bit. He goes, turn to the right, turn to. So now I got the hang of how this is happening. And then we went over Miami Beach. So I saw the water, the whole thing. And when I landed, he tells me, did you like it? I was like, you know what? I kind of like that shit. I like it. He goes, you want to go up again? I was like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow. So we did it the next day and I never looked back, man.
Another paradigm shifting experience where you're
Oh,
able to
yeah.
expand yourself by facing your fears. And most people
100%.
never get to the point where they try to avoid their fear, but that's where the expansion is. That's where the breakthrough is. Get to the edge, jump,
Yeah,
jump, and you'll be able to fly one way or another.
that's it.
Or not.
No, but yeah, it's just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, man.
Okay, so let's go not fast forward, but let's um we spoke. I was at different stages of my life. I was going through some challenging times. You wanted to expand what would be your business. This might have been before Orange Theory, not exactly sure. And you went and drove to a place with at the time your lady. And I remember you saying, we're gonna go take a look at this location. And she said, we have no money. He said, no, this is the way it starts. You said, this is the way it starts. You want to visualize, hence the blueprint that
Yes.
we had done decades before.
Yes, it was because I had just turned pro in my sport as a bodybuilder. And which was another thing, I got back into competition when I was in the restaurant. And I remember the guy in the gym telling me, well, I was telling him the story. I was like, well, I'm gonna go do this contest, and if I turn pro, Oh, I said, when I turn pro, and he goes, turn pro. He did that. He goes, when you turn pro, whoa, 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 whoa. And he caught me because I said, if I turn pro, he got me. He got me because I was right in the beginning. I said, when I turn pro. And then he goes, like in other words, nigga, you ain't turning pro. And so I went and I did the show and I turned pro. And I came back to the gym. I said, when I turned pro, and I showed him the trophy and the whole shit. And he was like, wow, he had to eat his words. But anyway, at that time, they had closed the hardcore gyms here in Miami, which were the only, four that were called Porky's Gym. And they were bought out by UFIT. Now, if you know anything, UFIT takes out all the heavy weights, and I had just turned pro, and I said, how the hell am I gonna compete
Work
with?
out. I can't work out here.
Yeah, I can't. So if I didn't have a gym to train in, I would have to build it. So I told my lady at the time, I said, I'm gonna build a hardcore gym for me to continue to.
And guys, for those of you who don't know, a hardcore gym was similar to Elmo's in the sense that it was called California style. So like you're in Venice Beach or anywhere in the world, which means pretty much hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All metal clinging iron weights, none of that rubber shit that they have now, right? And so she goes, but you don't have the money. I was like, I don't have the money now, but I'll have the money. And that's not what's stopping me. What's stopping me is being able to see a clear path and seeing the blueprint and how I can do it. If I can see how I can do it, the money's the least of my problems. I can figure that shit out because money can be made anyhow. You just have to be intuitive enough and have the cojones to go make a move,
Yeah,
right?
you
And
have to
so
be in the frequency to attract it. And before that happens, and again, you had a reference where you sat down and you saw somebody else bear witness and also yourself getting a course. So you had some references to this working in the past. So you did again.
exactly. And so I had procured some dumbbells from a guy selling a dumbbell rack. He had two sets of dumbbell racks from 5 to 100 pounds. So I went in there with no money and I was negotiating for the dumbbells with no money. So I said, how much for the dumbbells? And he wanted to sell me the dumbbells for 1,200 bucks. I was like, can you do 800? And he goes, no, I can't. I need 1,200. And I'm like, in my mind, I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell him, I'll give you the 1,200, but you got to give me about 3 weeks to get the money. That gave me time, but it also gave him what he wanted, right? Which was 1,200. So I said, all right, give me 12. And so we shook on it. And at this time, the next three paychecks, I was able to save $400 from each paycheck to go get the dumbbell. So I got the dumbbell rack, put it in the back of my yard, and covered it with a tarp. And every week, when I got paid, I went on Craigslist and I bought one piece of equipment with some of the money from my check, and I took it to the backyard and covered it with a tarp. I did that for 40 pieces. When I have 40 pieces, I knew every piece that I needed to have a full gym. Then I negotiated the lease on the place. Why? Had I done it backwards, I would have been paying for rent while I get the pieces, and I would have had wasted money there without an operating gym. So I got all the pieces first. I painted all the pieces yellow. And when everything was done, I went and found a spot and told the lady that I needed a 6 month build out. So I didn't have to pay for 6 months. I had all the equipment. From week one, I was operating and making money, pocket money, because I didn't have to pay for 6 months. By the time I had to pay, the gym was already making money and I was paying from the members and I didn't have to pull a dime out of my pocket.
So now this situation, was this your first venture or was this the second venture? Did you have to go a second time because something happened?
No, this was my first one. The first one, this was my second one. The first one I had in New York, which I sold, and then got this one. And then from this one, I built up, man, I get aggravated thinking about it. I built it up
You
where
learned again.
I negotiated with one of these, which nowadays it's ceased to exist, and I got burned. Like I got this place because of my professional status. I got a lot of people in there, and I knew athletes.
I went to that initial gym, and when I
Yes,
went down to Miami, I actually went there.
yes, and so I built that. gym and it was making $6,000 a month, $16,000 a month. 16. And I wasn't taking a check. I was putting it all back in. And I had got into an argument with one of the guys that I made partner with in there. And I told the other guy, yo, tell this guy if he doesn't want to be here, I'll buy him out. Because he had a nasty attitude, and I don't tolerate that shit. And that actually, one of the partners was one of the guy that I went to buy the dumbbells from. And he tells me, no, you're not buying him out. The only person being bought out here is you. This was about 6 months in. And I said, what? I said, I built this place. I said, are you crazy? It was one of those things where I thought I was being punked. And I wised up quick and I went to get a lawyer. And the lawyer tells me, is this about a gym? I said, yeah. He goes, my partner just got hired by two guys who had a gym. Hold on a second. Is it this name? And I said, yeah. He goes, buddy, these guys have been here for the last 3 weeks. They hired my partner and they have him on retainer for $50,000. So they were planning to get me out behind my back. And I built the gym. And I told the guy, look, this is my paperwork. This is my gym. I own this thing. He goes, okay, yeah, you clearly own it, but litigation is not free. And I have no doubt we won't win. We'll win. But do you have $100,000 for the litigation? I was like, no, I thought you guys do that shit for free and you guys get paid at the end. He goes,
No,
no.
that's the how you call it? If you get hit by a car and
Yeah, I found out the
yeah,
hard way.
yeah.
And he goes, no, man, but you're gonna open up another gym? I was like, I'm gonna open up another gym just to burn those motherfuckers. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what happens then?
So he goes, look, I'm gonna give you a free piece of advice. It's the best advice I'm gonna give you. You say you built that gym. I'm like, yeah. He goes, those people went there for you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, go down the block, get another name, open another spot, and take all your customers. And that's exactly what I did. And I opened up Iron Temple.
How long did it take before the learning curve? And I understand you spent quite a bit of time building it out. I seen photos. We actually did a song
Yeah.
explaining what happened. So what
But,
happens? You get
but
to the place, you have to start knocking things down, right?
I was so angry that first of all, I didn't want anybody's help because I didn't want anybody to tell me, oh, I did this for you, I did that for you. I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm done with
Me,
partners.
myself, and I.
That's it.
Me, myself,
And
and
so
I.
I got the spot, and in 53 days, I was up and running by myself. I hired a tow truck to tow all the equipment out of that spot at midnight when everybody was gone. And I didn't tell them I was going. So when they went back in there, they had a whole empty room. And I never got a call from them to this day. But I've been there now 8 years in my new spot, and I took all my customers, and bro, it's been the
The
best thing.
greatest revenge of massive success.
So things didn't happen to me; they happened for me.
Okay, so let me just say this. So now I get a phone call and some guy says, "Oh, it's Tony." I'm like, "Tony? What Tony? I know a lot of Tonys.
Oh yeah.
TNT? Oh yeah. Let's talk about that."
What led to that is that in that 20-year disappearance that we had, I had acquired two young children, right? My beautiful boys. And well, obviously, since it was such a big impact in my life that immediately I had to get these kids in where? Into martial arts. So I stuck them in martial arts, and then the sensei made the error in asking me, do you think they would want to fight? I was like, what? I was like, nah, it's not what they want. They're gonna fight. When's the sparring happening? And he goes, oh, we got a sparring competition here and there, and we're gonna start the sparring. And I was like, 100%, boom. And I paid him out. And so the kids started sparring, and I told him, when's the competition? He goes, it's gonna be this date. And I said, okay. So I was excited, and I was like, like fucking like a kid in a candy store. I'm gonna watch my kids, do what I used to do. And so I was like right, feeling like home. And I go with them. I call their mom and I said, "Hey, you gonna go watch the kids?" She goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go. I'll see you there." I go. She comes with the kids, and she has her new boyfriend in tow. And I'm like, "What the fuck's going on here? Like, what? What's going on?" She goes, "Oh no, he's fighting." I'm like, "He's fighting? What do you mean he's fighting, bro?" And I was like, "Oh hell no! Is this dude trying to take my? Whoa, he's trying to steal my thunder? What?" And I went and I watched the kids and I was there with the kids, but my mind wasn't on the kids. My mind wasn't, these are my kids. I should be fighting the way I know how to. He shouldn't be fighting in there trying to be the father of my kids. Oh, I was going through it. And so I got home that night and it was
What
that
happened to wait? What happened to him?
you guys ask it.
That
but
helped. That helped, right? Did that
yeah,
help?
oh yeah. I was like, oh, now they're not gonna see that. They're gonna see something else. And so I got home that night, and then I was like, I know only one person that can get me back in shape in 6 weeks for me to fight in the next
Or
tournament with my
you
kids.
didn't have no phone.
No, no, I found you. I went I was I gotta I went into Google, I went into Instagram, I went into Facebook. I found your number and I was like 914.
I'm pretty easy to find because I've been in social media for quite a while.
I'm like a 914. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Number
Right home.
914. Like, but I said, fuck it. I got no other number. Let me give it a shot. And I called, ring, ring. Hello. I'm like, Jay? Well, who's this? I'm like, Tony. He goes, Tony? What Tony? TNT. I was like, yeah, that's me. And the rest is history, man. From there, you flew to my house. You freaking lost 17 pounds. I freaking got my brown belt. I fought in the tournament.
It
I won.
hasn't been a year, guys. Listen, please
It hasn't. This
understand
has
this.
been like 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. So literally, what happened when I spoke to TNT? Now, this
Crazy.
TNT was not the same person any longer. Of course, he has had, he showed me that he was in a documentary, and I'm like, oh my god! And I actually rented it, to show support. I didn't go on Tubi, and my girl and I watched it, and he was smart enough to negotiate a deal, get my butt down there. So I'm like, check this freaking dude out. But yeah, okay, I'll go. And of course, I'm the type of person that says yay or nay. There's no in between me. I don't say a limit, no whatever. It's either yes or no. And by the second trip, I'm dissatisfied with winning these grand championships. I made a commitment, lead by example. I went and competed in tournaments with kids that could be my sons, and I won like the beat never I never skipped the beat. Grand champion. And then I'm like, you know what? I feel uncomfortable because I'm beating these kids and I feel like a bully. And I say, UMAN OG. And that was Friday, right? Like, wait a
That,
minute, what?
that was where it was born. Yeah. Yep.
So
That trip set it off.
so you're getting ready to train. You got 12 weeks
I
or
got 12
so.
weeks to train to show my kids that I
And
can do.
then what happened?
And then as I'm training for this contest, which was about a week and a half to go, I'm training, practicing in the dojo that my kids go to with this other kid. So the sensei says, come, they're all training for the tournament and you can get some kicks off and you can, practice.
Now, this is after we start the online sniper fight. So you have all this new
Yeah,
information, got all these tools, some
I
from the
have
past, some from the
everything.
present. You ready to go? The countdown is happening, and
And I'm
bam!
and I'm scoring on this young, tall black belt kid, and I'm kicking him and then I throw a kick, a roundhouse, and I get him in the rib, but when I come down, he's moving to the back and his leg is trailing, and I land on his ankle and he pulls the ankle and my leg pulls and I tear all three muscles of my hamstring on the spot. Ugh,
Off the bone.
off the bone. And I heard it and I said, "Oh my God." I dropped to the floor. My kids were there. They were nervous. They saw what happened. I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good, guys. We're good. We're good." I didn't know I was good. I tried to get up. I felt like a bag of rocks, fell right back down to the floor. And the thing is that my Porsche is stick shift. I couldn't even, I had to drive the 3 pedals with one leg, my right leg. A 10-minute ride home took me 45 minutes. So it was difficult. And
And it was just a pulled muscle, right?
yeah, pulled. I wish it was pulled. It was
Yeah,
torn
pulled muscle right off the left, right off
right
the
off the
bone.
bone. And it was ironic because that following Monday, I had to go to Idaho to Marley Jack's and Steve Larson's wedding. And if you guys don't know who that is, these are internet marketing millionaires that are
Multi-millionaires.
that
Individually and collectively, multi.
yeah, and I've been learning how to do what they do by replicating what they're doing. And they were teaching me, and we became very good friends. And I ended up in their wedding, and I went there with a torn hamstring off the bone.
No excuses.
No excuses. So as painful as it was, I went there. I flew there, sat on a plane, sat on the torn hamstrings, and when I got back home, I immediately went the next day to surgery. Uh, in my research, I found that the Wolverine protocol, BPC 157 and TB 500, were peptides
These are
for healing.
peptides that help you recuperate. Wolverine, come back.
And I went and I bought a 2 month supply because guess what was in 6 weeks after that?
September 20th, the UMAN OG, Fountain of
The
Youth,
human-
legendary event in the Boogie Down Bronx.
And I said, I am not going to miss 2 tournaments in a row. And so the day after surgery, obviously the wound is still numb. So I said, this is great. I'm going to inject right into the wound. And I injected TB 500 every day for 30 days. In fact, the week after surgery, I was walking with no crutches, with no walking thing. I was walking regular.
And it's that most people would have went through the normal process, which would have been, you would still have been hurt right now, the therapy and so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
I didn't do no therapy. My therapy was walking. My therapy was, and I bought my ticket like a week later for the New York trip. And I said, I'm doing this come hell or high water. It was my mom's birthday, the 20th as well. So I said, I killed two birds with one stone. I go fight. I go see my mom. She didn't know I was fighting until I got home with the medal.
And
And
and even that, you share some experience. Just so you guys bear witness, the tournament happened in 3 months' time with no budget.
oh,
The impossible was done, custom medals,
oh yeah.
and what took him a quarter of a, 3 months, I got it done. I mean, everything was like the perfect storm, and it all happened. And then you're there at
Custom
the event, and
gears.
it's a surreal thing. Like you're like, wait a second, how the heck did this happen? Then you go back home, and before you know it, you're back again. And I come up with what would be the sniper fight certification,
Yes.
but you're injured.
I
And then
done
you got smacked with this thing that you already have been exposed to, super patch,
that.
over in Idaho of all places.
Yep.
And
And
you and we have it on video. You're sparring
yeah,
with Master Ty, you throw this kick, you're like, what the hell? I don't even know I threw the kick.
that's it. Yeah. And we did the sniper fight certification
Coach
where
TNT
yeah,
and Master Ty.
you blessed me with the certification and the sniper fight black belt. And it's just I'm waiting for the next tournament, man. I'm just ready to go again. Let's go.
So guys, that being said, you never lose, you learn. And as long as you roll with the punches and you what would be pivot, you got to pivot. When it comes down to it, a few days ago, I speak to you and you're in Idaho, and then you come back home, and then now you went to Arizona. But today, yesterday I actually spoke to you, and you was in the gym in Arizona. So it's like you can make excuses, make moves. You can't do
Right.
both.
Right.
You
Exactly. And
know.
here we are. That's
Again,
it.
guys, I want to just make sure that everybody knows that everyone has a story. I am not UMAN OG. I am one of the people. My position is my position, but everyone collectively is what makes this thing up. What
100.
breaks my heart and my motivation of it was having disrespected or feeling disrespected, where my generation created an industry and we're not even allowed to be on stage. You went to an event and you started seeing a whole different thing.
Right.
And it wasn't consistent with what I've been teaching.
Right.
And I said to you, listen, it's easier even today because these guys do all the same stuff.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
shared some information even with the students. And, so the interesting part about it is that last time I went, we jump into a pool and I create a new protocol to what would be the training sniper being military. And it's almost like aqua training.
Right.
How is that?
That was next level training. That was something that, first of all, it was unexpected. Number two, every 10 minutes that we did it there, something new happened. Like the floor dipped. So the experience was different. And then it went up again. And coming out of it was like, oh, what the hell just happened? And then getting out of the water and
Okay, so,
walking.
so, so let me explain. It's the heart of the summer. We're in New York City, and I'm training now more than I've trained in years. So my legs are tired. I'm sore one day. I'm really, really sore. And it's the middle of the day. I say, honey, let's go to the swimming pool. And I have to travel away to Manhattan because for some reason that swimming pool water was cold. I mean, like really, really cold. And I understand cold therapy is something that you can actually do. So I'm saying, okay, how we can make the most out of this? So I go into the water, and I realized once I'm throwing these kicks that I felt zero pain. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Except for when you come out, gravity just completely. But after about 2 minutes of walking outside, and then you're light now because you're not being pushed down. And it was such a weird experience. I say, hey, TNT, I want you. We're gonna go to your pool. You got to get. You live in a gated community. You got the pool, and we're gonna go in there and do our thing. So when you came out of the water,
Oh
how
man.
was that? And then,
It felt like it felt like your pockets were full of rocks. And you're like, whoa, this is wild. And then the more steps you took, the lighter you became. And now you're like air. It's like, woof, let me kick somebody now. It's like it's a whole nother level.
we also have about 10 hours plus, not counting the bunch of words that we're gonna add to it. Of not only is him and I sparring, but in between techniques, he's asking me questions that most people would never get a chance to. Why this and why that?
Yeah, yeah. And there are questions that, you know,
It pertinent to what would be the situation to improve upon and learn from it that most people
right.
never had a chance to even recap. They do it. They don't even know why.
Yeah, it's another masterclass, because the answer is only as good as the questions that you're asked, right? And because you're a good elaborator, you understand as the words are coming out what it is they're trying to ask.
Which is kind of freaky when I think about it because it goes
Oh,
back to you being in a state and that different character, and you're able to dissimulate what you previously did, even though no one's ever asked that question. So you have to decipher it. Oh, what the hell can I? What? And I understand why I did it, but I never had to break it down that elaborate because it was being recorded. If a person today has never trained in martial arts ever, and they go to that website and they put 3 months, oh my gosh, they'll know
yeah.
what 99.9% of the top fighters don't know.
Oh no, yeah. Again, it's just it's stuff like you would think it's like, why don't people do this? Why don't people know this? It's like sometimes the people complicate their lives by making shit harder. It's like,
Well, just to be fair, you don't need all that stuff to become a champion because you've seen three techniques that they do fast. Everybody does it about the same, and whoever does that faster ends up winning. So if you're tall, you have an advantage. If you're fast, you have an advantage.
yeah,
But it's a cookie cutter. It's
right,
people copying each other, and then they do drills, and I'm like, no, fighting is not drills. Fighting is sporadic, spontaneous, erratic, and there is a thing called distance. But I said sometimes when you slow things down, that curveball will get you, or the
Right.
changer. And I reference different sports, and I reference, and again, that's in the homage to my mother who said to me, "You don't know what you were doing," and she was like really adamant that she didn't realize that I was making it up as we went. I knew what the goal was, and then you work your way backwards. So you begin with the end in mind, but how you did it, I'm not sure. But this is the process, similar to when you visualize the location, and it is the blueprint to success in whatever endeavor it is. Now, asking you shall receive. We have to visualize what you're asking, and you're thinking pictures and so on and so forth. And I think what's really incredible is that, God forbid, I transcend to another realm today. There's a blueprint there, guys, that people just do not understand how much information can save you lifetime
Oh
of
yeah.
martial arts pugilism.
Yeah. It's like a decade in a day.
That's how
Huh?
you that's time. Anyhow, on that note, we just start yesterday and it is tomorrow. So what I'm gonna do is ask you any parting words or shout outs you want to do right now, because Coach TNT, this is your history, and we're gonna
Man,
be doing some magic stuff. I gave you a little preview of what this does. What do you think about the map and things that have shown you so far?
it's almost like you're seeing yourself through a comic book. And it's kind of like surreal. You're like, holy shit, I'm an action figure. I get to see what happened from beginning to end. And it's like, me being a dad, I almost want to see that and show it to my kids. So my kids, I'm like, see, this was daddy, and look at him here. This is what I want for you, and you guys, and thankfully they're such good, and you've seen them and met them. They're such good kids, man. And I have to believe that, they're like that because of what I learned from my mom and dad.
You okay? No, are you okay?
Yeah, right. Real quick, let's break that down. You and I are sparring, and and we're going through a set. And look, not for nothing, but every time I spar with you, I get better. But that's because you forced me and pushed me to get better. But I'm asthmatic, right? And and at one point, you let off on me, and I'm like, oh, and so I see my kid. I'm like, all right. I look at them, and I'm like, all right, you guys all right? And my little one comes over in front of us, and he goes, no, Dad, are you okay?
Out of the mouth of babes. I think we're gonna
Oh
make a
my
T-shirt for that one.
God, bro, that was the last thing I would expected from him. It was just so comical, and the comedic timing was on point.
Oh my God.
Unreal, unreal.
It's awesome. So any shout outs or what will be parting words? Shoot, you got the mic. There you go.
Yeah, man. Look, as Tony Robbins said, I learned years ago, man, your past does not equal the future. As you can see, I did 5 years in prison. You become the man you are
Hey, wait,
today.
sounds like you're bragging.
You become the man you are today based on the trials and tribulations that you have. Every time you have one and you overcome it, you become stronger and stronger. And I believe that if you've never had a tough time in your life, try finding some tough times because it'll make you a better, bigger, and a stronger man for sure.
How about some shout outs?
I give a shout out to my kids, my sons, Gianni and Angelo. A shout out to my sensei, you, which without you, probably would cease to exist, and this brain would cease to have a mental mindset, superiority to what made me who I am today. But my mom, obviously, without her, I would cease to exist. And my
Oh,
dad.
you better give Bobby a shout out because she gave you one during the documentary, which I'm sure was surreal when you experienced
Yeah,
watching that too.
my sister Barbie, who she's always had my back. She's always believed in me, so much so that she took her boyfriend, who was back then, brought him into the prison to come see me so he can ask me for her hand in marriage. So he's and they're still together, thankfully. She's got 2 kids now, and it's been I can't complain, man. You know, thankfully.
Well, I'm proud of you. The best is yet to come.
Thank you,
And
sir.
the beat goes on. Did you get a chance to see a little bit of the birthday party I had? Because it was freaking
I
pretty,
did.
freaking.
I did. I was
So
only I was a little sad that I wasn't there, but I was
Yeah,
there in spirit, man.
that's okay because that same moon's gonna be used to celebrate sooner than later. And yes, we will have a Valencia cake, even though you probably won't be able to eat too much of it, but still, it'll be there. Very, I didn't get a chance to taste the pineapple. When I keep saying that because I bought two of them. I bought a pineapple and the custard, and the pineapple was gone. Like, what happened? What happened here? What happened here? What happened here? They ate the whole freaking thing. But I'm proud of you, sir, and I appreciate you, and I know the best is yet to come. So when I say AB, man, you know what you say, AB.
See ya.
Get
Get
out of
out
here. God
here.
bless. Get out of here now. All right.
Later.
Yes, sir. Wow.